All right, this one is an episode that is a bit hard to think of a good way to use in a TTRPG. Why? Well, it's a Worf and Keylehr episode, which means that, yes, while Worf would be a stand-in for a player character, Keylehr is an NPC. And while this isn't strictly speaking a romance episode, it's very romance adjacent and spends a whole lot of time with Worf's relationship with Keylehr and how it got complicated years ago, and Worf isn't entirely sure exactly what he wants to do with that. Okay, he knows what he wants to do with that. It's just that he has complicated reasons why he's not actually doing that. Anyway, though, that is technically the B plot, even though it takes up more of time in the episode than the A plot. I know. The A plot is something that is weird. See, there was this ship that is technically a TOS Klingon ship that, for some reason, was told to do a really, really long-term mission. So the crew put themselves in cryogenic stasis for something like 75 years. Yeah, okay. Sometime before 2290, and then they don't wake up until 2365. Yeah, that's the thing that happened. I don't remember if they actually ever explained what it was, other than it was a secret mission that the Klingon High Command had decided was so important that no one was allowed to know what it was. I think that's the explanation they gave in the episode. Short version, if you're the game master and you actually want to do something with this, feel free to make up your own explanation because the real one doesn't exist. Now, a pseudo enemy that you need to talk into being nice is actually a valid plot hook. And the old thing of current ally, former enemy is an interesting wrinkle that you can throw into that. Because they're trying to attack you because they think you're their enemy, except you're not really. It's a workable idea. And to be quite honest, as Star Trek plots go, this isn't the first time Star Trek has done something like that. I can't say that I've ever liked that plot device. However, it is a plot device that has been used more than once. Anyway, though, so the captain of this was, for some unknown reason, depicted as a TNG Klingon. This was actually done before they came up with that non-explanation in DS9 about why TNG Klingons look different from TOS Klingons. I mean, they could have just, not bothered talking about it. Anyways, to be quite honest, this individual is actually rather boring. Okay, he's a loyal Klingon officer who, in many ways, behaves as you would expect for a TOS Klingon. He doesn't really go on the whole like raw blood, honor, glory. No. He's like, we're at war, so I'm required to shoot you. He's more on that. Of course, if you are doing your own version of this, have no reason to actually write the character the same way that Katemok was written. But that was actually the interesting thing about this, is that Katimok isn't, obsessed with blood, honor, and glory. Now, Keylehr, the half-human diplomatic envoy, is the one who suggests giving them an honorable death and just blowing the Tong up completely. Yeah, Keylehr came up with that one. Although, if I remember correctly, Katimok did consider it dishonorable to surrender to the Federation, which was the reason why Worf and Keylehr put on the ruse of being Klingon Empire officers. And yes, this ship was built by the United Federation of Planets, but as you can see, we are Klingon officers, and we're telling you to stop shooting at our ship. So, you're going to stop shooting at our ship, or, are we going to have to make you stop shooting at our ship? Which did eventually work. I do, however, feel the need to point out that Keylehr and Worf were completely lying about the whole thing. And Katimok would have learned the truth when he got back to Qonus. Yeah. The episode doesn't actually get into that, but presumably that's a thing that happened. Anyway, though, as a TTRPG plot, there's a lot of things you could do with the basic idea of diplomatic negotiations with a alien force that kind of sort of wants to kill you for some reason or other. This specific plot is a very, very uniquely specific one. And while the whole sleeper ship thing has been done multiple times, it's not one that I personally would want to overuse. So there's a variety of other explanations you can come up with. Like, the peace treaty was recently signed. You don't need to have them be from 75 years ago. People who were, say, out of comms for 2 years, maybe. Doesn't need to be quite so long-term scale. Anyway, guys, part of the deal with this one was actually that these guys were unaware of a peace treaty that had been signed decades prior. And so they needed to put in a long time scale. Also, they used this episode as an excuse to elaborate on the concept of the Federation Klingon peace accords. And quite frankly, they made it confusing. They didn't do a particularly clear explanation, and a lot of what they did state about it got retconned, or was actually retconning things that had already been done in TNG. Yeah, that's an interesting thing if you really, really look into the details. But anyways, I think I said everything I can about this. This one is the entire Worf Keylehr thing. I wouldn't do that in a TTRPG. Maybe someone else would, but it involves way too much mating for me to be comfortable with having it in a TTRPG. And the other plot, the actual A plot for this one, the idea is usable, but the actual specifics, you would want to come up with different specifics, because for Klingons, this is incredibly weird and doesn't really make a whole lot of sense as something they would do often. But obviously they did it at least once. Alright, well, I see I'll fly this way.